This is the Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable, and we are growing. We're growing as individuals and as a group, and we're talking today about agriculture. I'm Rob, living in the basement. I have moss growing along the walls, some mildew, some mold. Also in the basement is Galen, right over there. Well lit today. What are you making, Galen?
Alfalfa sprouts.
Making alfalfa sprouts.
Between his toes.
Yep. Thought it'd be rather apropos. Lots of
Chris in the
fertilizer.
far corner, and Michelle is upstairs. We're going to talk about MustGrow Biologics, MGRO, on the Canadian Exchange. Corey Jason is the president there in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Two companies in Toronto. One's Waterways Technologies, WWT on the venture. That's Chad Haber. Or no, I'm sorry, it's Ohad Haber. And then EarthRenew, also in Toronto, Keith Driver. That's ERTH on the Canadian Exchange. Chris is going to talk about them first, a little bit of the sector, agriculture, as we grow.
Yeah. So as we all know, the world is all tickety fucked right now. Not to use too many Australian expressions up here in North America, but realistically, the Russians have messed everything up. Food production was pretty stable for a long time. A lot of grain coming out of Ukraine. Right now, what's coming out of Ukraine is smoke and refugees and misery, and no one wants to buy anything from the Russians. So whatever they were growing out there in potato land is not exactly coming into Safeway. So with that, plus the fact that oil and gas are really bloody expensive right now, we were just talking before we started the cameras about how my generally costing $68 a tank car is now costing me $105 or so. That's ridiculous. So anything that's grown is generally not grown within a stone's throw of your house. It's generally ported in by sea, by air, by rail, by truck, and all of those things are now a lot more expensive. If it's more expensive for my little Fiat to get to town, it's a damn fight. It's more expensive for a ship to make its way through the ports. So we've all got supply chain issues in every damn part of life right now, and everything that we're purchasing is more, including food. Now, what the obvious result of that on the markets is people who are like, where do I put my money? Well, oil and gas and food production. It's an obvious place. Not that it costs more necessarily to grow a bushel of wheat in, Missouri. It just costs more to drive it out. And because of that, because we don't know how much more it's going to cost, the companies that are growing that wheat are jacking up their prices as well, because how are you going to tell whether they're gouging or not? So everyone's got their snout in the trough except us, the people. So, all right, let's make some money out of that. So obviously, oil and gas is an interesting thing. We talked last week about a company called In Play Oil, IPO, which is having a big old run of it in the last couple of days. We talked about Southern Energy, which is also having a big old run of it these days. Two good Canadian kids that are running rampant on those higher gas prices. But also in the agricultural side, there's some money to be made. Specifically, if prices are going up across the board, then your investments can go across the board and start making some cash as well. One company that I'm particularly interested in, and we talked about a lot, is EarthRenew. This was a client of ours, 2 years ago. The deal there was when you're sending your cattle to the stockyard, what do they produce? Methane and poop. And generally speaking, the stockyard owners have to pay a lot of money to get the poop removed so that you're not, bringing rats into your food supply. And, things like cholera, stuff like that. So EarthRenew's solution was to take that poop and put it through their process and turn it into renewables, that is energy and fertilizer. Now, it seems to me like turning cattle poop into fertilizer would be an obvious thing, but it's not necessarily. There's a lot that goes into it to make the fertilizer not chemically problematic in the fields around it. Generally just dumping a lot of shit onto a field. The first time it rains, it's all going into the creek. And then along comes algal blooms and all sorts of other shit. So these guys have figured a way to turn this into fertilizer that's chemically much easier going on the end product, and they've built themselves a pilot plant, and they're making some money out of that pilot plant. These guys, they came out 2 years ago and said, hey, bullshit is where it's at. And we all laughed and made puns. But realistically, EarthRenew, they lost 400 grand in Q4. That's it. But they had revenue of 15.1 million in Q21. That ain't small. And now that they're actually opening up their pilot plant into a fully fledged upgraded plant, the ability is there for them to make far more money than they did in Q20 in all of 2021. To show what actually was coming in Q4, of that 15.1 million, the revenues in fourth quarter were 7.7. So half of their annual revenue was in the last quarter. That indicates to me some real advancement on the balance sheet. Forget the $400,000 loss in Q4. That's nothing. You can raise that in a second and a half. But this is a company that new tech in a hot sector. They were there a little bit early, and maybe it took a little while for the market to figure out that there was an important thing there. But while there were a bunch of people who just sort of looked at it top level and thought, what do I care about cattle shit? They're making a real business out of this, as they said they were going to. They made a pilot plant, as they said they were going to. They've shown that the tech works, as they said they were going to. So this is a real interesting company, regardless of what's happening out there in the big bad world. But when you throw the big bad world into the mix, by God, to be able to actually make some energy out of this stuff and fertilize, you're in the two top sectors right now where things are going ballistic. That to me is a good deal. And if we look at the market cap of EarthRenew, just quickly, $15 million. They're trading at annual revenue, guys. Like, who's doing that? Cannabis, as destroyed as it is, the best case scenario is trading at like 4 times annual revenue. Mostly it's 50. This is the two hot sectors and a $15 million market cap. And not for nothing, but if you were looking at this thing for a while, if you were like looking at it, say, in late 2021, you were getting it for 17.5 cents a share. You've doubled that now. So, for mine, really good deal. When we were talking about it back in the day, it was like 12 cents. Yep. So to be at 33, 34 cents now is a good sign that everything is alive and well in EarthRenew. I will say, as much as they are a previous client, not a client right now, only saying good things about them because they've earned the fucking right.
There you go.
That's the H.
Poop in the mix.
Poop is in the mix.
Did you actually campaign? Did you actually campaign for the Big Lebowski in 2020?
This aggression will not stand, man.
All right, EarthRenew and the poop. Poop in the mix. We don't want poop in the waterways.
Oh,
Galen, we do not want poop in the waterways.
So stop taking your shit at the beach.
WWT on the Venture Exchange, Ohad Haber in Toronto. What the hell are they doing? They definitely are putting poop in their mix.
No. All right. So let's back this up a little bit. Clean it up just a tiny bit.
Beep,
All right. Okay. The biggest concern right now is the amount of arable land available left on the planet. In Canada, you're looking at about 4% of the land that we have is actually arable. Or arable, I should say. And that number has been sort of decreasing over the past 10, 15 years. And it's only recently bounced just a little bit because we've been going into areas we couldn't necessarily access before and going, hey, we can grow here. But eventually that's going to hit a wall. And guess what? The birth rate is not going to stop. So by about 2050, I think we're looking at 10 billion people on the planet. How the hell are we going to feed them, considering that we have trouble doing that right now?
Soylent Green is people.
Yeah, exactly. So unless you want people to be dumped into mixes and sped together and fed out in protein bars, we need to look at ways to optimize how we grow our food. Some people are thinking, take livestock off the table and go all plant-based. That's an idea, as much as I hate it. But the big thing is to actually optimize how we're growing our plant-based foods, because right now it's not necessarily a completely wasteful experience, but we've never really been under the gun to make it as efficient as absolutely possible. And this is where our challenges lie right now, because we are not only in problems of providing food, we're also having problems getting good, clean water and enough of it to water our crops. Waterways Technologies is a company that provides those types of systems. They have water and irrigation systems and water and irrigation systems that they have created that are both controlled technologically speaking, there we go, as well as just designed from the ground up to be more efficient. This allows farmers to accurately gauge how much they're watering their fields, to be able to build on that knowledge and use it better going forward. Now, this company is actually doing quite well in terms of actually making money and turning it into a profit at the end of the year. So I really like what they're doing. I'm not going to sit on this for too long in terms of just talking about it, because it's a good idea. We are going to be in a food shortage. We are going to be in a water shortage. Both of those will be crises over the next 25 years, if not in the next 10. And companies like these will be offering solutions to get around that. So if you're an investor and want to not only help the planet, but also help yourself, these kinds of options are great to look at. I like Waterways Technologies. I think what they have to offer is a good idea. And so I'm going to leave it at that for right now. Rob is talking to us through American Sign Language.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. I got noise back here.
Jump in, but
Crises or crises?
Crises.
Crises, but it is Waterways Technologies, WWT, on the Venture Exchange. I'm not usually a grammar guy, but I kind of was entertained by that one. That's Waterways. We actually did an earlier company where they actually combined the two concepts. We had poop water being distributed as fertilizer through mist, through I believe it was an Israeli company. It could be nuts. Might have dreamed it. All right, let's go on.
I think you got to mix up. This is an Israeli agriculture company, Waterways. So.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think they mix poop in the water.
No.
I thought there was another company that did poop in the water. That had they fertilized with the water. No? All right. That's not a bad idea if you're not standing underneath it.
Maybe.
MustGrow Biologics, MGRO, and the Canadian exchange, Corey Jason is the president. What's going on with them?
Yes, sir. So all three of these companies, as you guys know, I do write a weekly agriculture sector roundup, and these are three of some of the most popular companies that I always get people asking me about. And MustGrow is a funny one. It's one where it's a biotech company, agricultural biotech company that basically focuses a lot on looking at natural, defensive, biological solutions for plants and for crops. And there's actually a bunch of these type of companies that are now coming out. And I think the agriculture space has some of the most unique and really fun and wacky. Well, I don't want to say wacky, but it's just great technology that's coming out. So the stuff that's coming out from the space is very creative. And MustGrow is actually one of them, where they are basically using or they're replacing synthetic chemicals used in high value crops to allow the plant to grow properly and protect it from insects and other pesticides and that kind of stuff. And what they have done is they've actually used the mustard plant or the mustard seed. They have extracted basically the organic biopesticides and all these other things that I'm not even going to try to pronounce and recreated it, and essentially are using it in their plants to grow and protect high value plants. And it's funny, I came across this company because I remember I was talking to a friend from Korea, and he was talking about how mustard seed is used there for agriculture. And then the day later, I saw this company, and I was like, oh, holy cow. Maybe there is something in Asia that now people here are taking a look at it. And Asia is really what we got to focus on for this company, because really big news that came out last year. and it's that MustGrow has an exclusive agreement with this Fortune 500 global trading company in Japan called Sumitomo Corporation, who are now basically testing MustGrow's technology. They're basically testing this mustard seed technology, using it in trials, and so far, significant positive news. And not only that, right after Sumitomo, we've heard that MustGrow actually has now an exclusive agreement with Bayer. So you guys know Bayer, they're the guys who bought up Monsanto. So they're also a big player in obviously the agriculture and agri-tech space. So they're looking at MustGrow's solution as well. And then recently another company called Hansen Pharmaceuticals. So this is one of those plays where they're sitting on essentially this technology that is attracting the eyes of big players, right? Big names in Europe and big names in Asia. And when we take a look at the stocks in the stock chart in a quick sec, you'll see why people are excited. But the whole idea is this is, a buyout play, right? Or one day MustGrow will sign up exclusive agreement to sell all their stuff to Bayer or to Sumitomo, but most likely, these big pharmaceutical and big Fortune 500 companies will probably just say, hey, look, we like your technology. We're just going to buy you up. So that's the excitement in this play. They have the tech. They have big corporations. They also have some big money actually on Bay Street that are behind this company as well. So a lot of excitement on MustGrow Biologics. And when we take a look at the charts, and I guess before we begin, I should actually do a disclaimer and say I do own all of these companies in my portfolio. And I should say, just echoing what Chris said earlier, agriculture is really the space to be looking at. I think a lot of people are looking at technology and cryptocurrencies. And I think, food inflation, we're seeing food inflation. We're probably going to see some food shortages. And you got to look at farming, in my opinion. It's maybe not the most exciting field, right? We always take food for granted, I think, in parts of North America. But maybe in 6 months' time, we might be seeing some issues on the shelves. And, from what I'm hearing, there are already issues on the shelves. And, prices for, I think I saw watermelon at Costco for like $20 Canadian. And I was like, oh, good God, someone actually told me, why are you buying that? And I had to put it back down. But, you're seeing this kind of stuff in the food space and everywhere, right? Fertilizers, as we talked about EarthRenew. I like the whole idea of their replenish fertilizer business because there's actually this shortage in fertilizers because believe it or not, Russia is one of the largest exporters of fertilizers and potash. Canada comes in, I believe, at second or third. So we're there as well. But from what I've heard from since last year, a lot of farmers were expecting fertilizer shortages in North America, and we are now in the planting season, so we're going to find out how bad those shortages are going to be, I guess, in just a bit. But it's definitely a space I think that you should be taking a look at, and looking at the cow ETF. You can look at John Deere, you can look at all these other agricultural companies. All of them have been making new record highs. It does look a bit toppy here, and cow is basically the global agriculture ETF with a great ticker, COW, COW. But people are looking at these bigger name agriculture plays, and when I mean people, I mean also big Wall Street firms are taking a look at these large profitable fertilizer plays and supermarket plays and agriculture farming tech plays like John Deere, as I mentioned. If we take a look at all these charts here, EarthRenew, this is a company that we were talking about. I think we've had previous shows about this. I can't remember when exactly we were looking at it, but I remember we were talking about this range. But we did call out this breakout here actually at 20 cents. So I've been riding this stock since that breakout, and I still get people asking me, hey, is this the uptrend still going to continue? And I said, hey, this is our trend line that we are riding. As long as the price bounces above this trend line and keeps going, we're in a new uptrend. And as you can see here, just recently on April 29th and also on May 2nd, there was a bit of a red day, but near the end of the day, the stock did get bid up. and actually, it bounced right at our trend line. So as long as this trend line stays in place, the uptrend will continue on EarthRenew, and I think the whole macro environment with fertilizer and the fertilizer space is going to be very exciting for a company like EarthRenew. Waterways, and as Galen mentioned, this is a company that's been making bank this year, record sales of 20.2 million Canadian dollars, 59% increase year over year. If you take a look at their press releases, it's all news about new projects, right? Delivery to Mexico, delivery to China, a delivery to Canada here, delivery to Uzbekistan. Some pretty decent money, right? 9.4 million for this total project here in Uzbekistan. And then you have some blueberry farms with an order of 730K. So there's always good news, and the company is growing and expanding. And recently the stock did hit all-time record highs here at 44 cents in early February. And since then, the stock has fallen down a bit. And there's a support here that we've been watching at 27.5 cents. Stock has been nicely holding this support. But for the month of April, we really did nothing. We've just ranged now between 29 cents to about 32 cents here to the upside. So really, it's now just about which side does Waterways want to break. Does it want to break out to the upside, or does it want to break down to the downside? I'm a bit surprised that it didn't really react too much on the earnings, which came out on the 28th of April. So it's telling you maybe that the market's not too super excited about those earnings, but I would have thought something like that type of catalyst would have caused the breakout in either direction. We still don't have that, but the stock is holding up quite well at this support zone. So I'm keeping my eyes out on this, of course, for someone who maybe wants to add to a position like me if I'm already in it. And then MustGrow, we just have to talk about this, crazy move that happened starting back from 2021. We had this big jump in summer. And then this is when the Sumitomo news basically came out. On July 30th, the stock was at around $1.75, and we went up to highs of around $5.50. And now we're just waiting for more news about trials, right? About what Sumitomo wants to do, what Bayer wants to do. And the stock has just been ranging basically between $4 and $3 for basically all of 2022. And we're just patiently waiting for a breakout. You can see here at $3, there is buyers stepping in. We can see from this nice large wick candle indicating a nice wall of buyers stepping in when the price dropped down too low. We might test that $3 zone once again, but I do expect, and I hope that this range holds, I guess. And really, it's about that breakout to the upside. But I think this is a company that a lot of big players, big pharmaceutical companies, big trading companies have their eyes on, and it's all about those trials, and it has a lot of people in the egg space excited.
Hey, by the way, punch up that EarthRenew one more time, because you were talking about last time we talked about them, February 16th was the last time we talked about them, right?
Okay, so we did talk about it after the breakout. There we go.
Right in there?
Yeah.
Right as it was kind of bopping. And then it dippity-doo, and then jumped back up again.
Ooh, yep.
It's been a boogieing since. Yeah, very nice. Those are the charts. We had EarthRenew, we had Waterways, and we had MustGrow. Now the question is, having seen the charts and heard the information, what is Chris Perry going to do with his $7,500?
I like EarthRenew at this price. Still, it's in terms of market cap, you're only dealing with a $15 million company. That's pretty reasonable for the fact that they're making $15 million in revenue and almost break even on that side. I don't mind Waterways. I think there's some movement there. It's certainly, although recently it's leveled off, it's had a good run. It's at 44 million in market cap, and I can see it moving up from there. Waterways, I have a bit more trouble with. Although it's had a good run in the last part of last year, it really is sort of up and down over the last few months. So I expect that maybe what they need is some real catalyst to move that forward. I'm not sure if that catalyst is coming today, tomorrow, or ever. So for me, I take the value on EarthRenew and I'd throw 4K under that right now, and maybe a K at the old Waterways.
All right, 5K total. 4 of it on EarthRenew, which is ERTH on the Canadian exchange. Again,
Um, I like EarthRenew. Always have, ever since I first started writing about the company and talking to Keith Driver and learning about the whole aim of what he's doing. It just makes sense. And it literally is a solution that solves a problem. A lot of companies come out hoping to be a solution, but they don't really have found a problem to be solved. So he's managed to do that. I think he's early enough within that sector to be able to maintain a bit of a leadership position, become part of the sort of, I guess you could say not the legislative process, but the whole sort of standard process. And that really sort of serves well in keeping a company, it's increasing its longevity. So, had some people ask me about, what do you think about Keith? Is there some things that he should be, hiding, or the red flags or anything like that? No, I think this is a clean company. This is a guy that's got his first crack at being a leadership position within a public company, but he's an expert within his sector. So he understands what he's doing. He's just learning the management processes as he's going along, and it seems like he's got a lot of good people with him, and it doesn't look like he's making a lot of mistakes, or any, if that matter, in regards to how to manage his company. So I would probably throw down, without hesitation, probably $5,000 on these guys, because I think they're just on the way up. People are beginning to catch sight of what's going on, and it's not just that the markets are beginning to recognize what value is there; it's that their business is picking up as well. I love this. It's beyond promotion; it's an actual function. Waterways I like, and just because I'm trying to spread my money out, I did give a whack load of it to EarthRenew. Waterways, I think, needs to show a little more oomph on its balance sheet. And I think it might end up doing that. It had some reevaluation derivatives that just took a fucking punch at what their bottom line was. So basically, they did clear about $2.9 million in gross profit in the last financial statements that I was able to take a look at, and then went under in a net loss of $970 some odd thousand. So not a bad turnout in terms of what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish. If they can stay away from the whole sort of finance thing that's screwing them around, that would be a good thing. I think, however, if they come out with some good financials and some good news flow, that they will again be on a bit of a climb, and may not be a hockey stick thing. But I mean, this is, for me, I'm a long-term investor. This need for food and water isn't a temporary thing. This isn't a fucking NFT. We're talking about something that people actually need. We all eat and we all drink. So these are important things for us, and will continue to be so for the remainder of our existence. So I'm going to give them $2,500. The only reason why I'm not touching MustGrow right now is because it's fairly specialized. It's an interesting concept, but they depend highly on what those clinical trials are going to bring out, or those trials are going to bring out. And because it's such a specialized service, it's a tough sell in a big market. So that's my only back off on that, and it's just because I don't know enough.
It's already
about
$160 million market cap on that thing. So
well, yeah, then for me, it's going to require a heck of a lot to push that further uphill in terms of valuation. So there's mine. I'm dumping 75 between those two first companies.
Woo! 5K to Earth. That's 9K to the poop.
There we go.
It is.
like
Thanks, Alfalfa. All right, now Vishal.
Yeah, so I did say earlier, I own all three companies as a disclaimer. So, it'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I didn't put my money in all three. Obviously, personally, I got in much lower in all of these companies. But if I was now going to take that $7,500 and invest into the prices I see today, I would still split it evenly, to be honest, $2,500 each. As my long-term play, as I said, the macro play for agriculture, especially for fertilizers and food shortages and food issues, I do believe, unfortunately, it is going to come, and there's going to be some troubles, and people aren't going to be quite happy about it. And I think the agriculture space is going to see maybe a record amount of money flowing into it, a sector that a lot of people always took for granted and tossed to the side because they're so excited by technology. You're going to see that money come into the ag space. And I believe, EarthRenew with its fertilizers, just the macro play in general with the fertilizer shortage. And, you guys can just take a look at some of the movements in some of these fertilizer stocks lately. It's just been, hockey stick parabolas. Like they've been going like crazy. And EarthRenew might be soon to join. I do like the whole idea of, irrigation, farmland, building projects to develop farms for blueberries or whatnot. I think Waterways has good technology there as well. And yes, MustGrow. As I said, I have gotten in much earlier on this one, but I do believe, with a company like Sumitomo looking at this and Bayer just, recently joining in, they do definitely have something. But, I do acknowledge what Galen and Chris said, that it needs that catalyst, right? It needs that good news. For all we know, Sumitomo and also Bayer might just say, hey, yeah, we liked it, but we're going to pass, right? That could still happen. But, my money's still in it. And this one, I guess you could say, is a bit more of a speculation play. But I do think, with a company, especially a Japanese company, like I don't think people sort of understand that the corporate culture over there, they take things sort of serious. And for Sumitomo to sort of be in this project sort of for the long term, that's sort of telling me something. So I am still excited about that. And they do tend to take things a bit slowly compared to the American and European firms. But I do think they have something there, and they do like what MustGrow is doing. So I would split my money evenly in all three at these prices.
That's because they drink a lot with their bosses.
They
have to drink with their bosses. There we go. We were very close to a bell. If it was frozen, Chris, we would have been ringing that bell, but because that's what we always give away his money. But we got 7,500, 7,505, baby. 9K to the poop. Oh, actually, no, 11.5K to the poop. That's pretty good. Nice job, EarthRenew. EarthRenew is on the Canadian exchange at ERTH. We had also Waterways Technologies at WWT on the venture. And MustGrow Biologics, MGRO, on the Canadian exchange out of Saskatoon. No guarantees from what we've told you. Sorry. If we had guarantees, we knew everything, we'd buy lotto tickets, and we wouldn't have to be doing this show. We just go ahead and win the thing, In the meantime, go do your homework, because past performance does not guarantee future results. And good luck with everything. And we'll see you on the next one. Good luck, Alfalfa. And CP, good luck to you as well. And BV, good luck to you as well. We'll see you on the very next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.